This is CBC Here and Now.
Live from George Street, it is Friday night. I'm Chrissy Combs in for Ashley Breiweiler. The RDF is here, and guess what? So are the tourists. Where are you guys from?
Abbotsford, BC.
How you find the weather so far?
Just like Abbotsford in February.
Oh, you feel right at home, and you're dressed for it.
Yes, we are. We were prepared.
Well, glad somebody prepared you. We are going to be talking about the weather tonight and how people are coping with it coming up.
One of the things Patrick asked me when he first came in and said we were a new franchise, what's your expectation? And I said, we want to win. We want to win and we want to compete.
Well, in about 90 minutes from now, the Newfoundland Growlers basketball team will play its first game in franchise history.
A man charged with sexual assault has refused to get a lawyer, and it's causing a bit of chaos in Supreme Court. That story coming up.
Truck drivers traveling on Marine Atlantic ferries will have to bunk down next to strangers again. But the return to this pre-pandemic policy has some worried. That's coming up.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan. Lots of news to tackle tonight, but we begin in Western Labrador, where search and rescue crews have recovered the body of a man from Canning Lake. Here Now's Daryl Din has the latest from the scene.
Police have recovered the body of a 32-year-old man. He went into the water when the boat he was in capsized here in Canning Lake. He wasn't alone. We know that 3 men headed out in a boat yesterday evening. The call for help came after 6 o'clock. 2 men managed to make it to shore, and that's where the search and rescue crews found them. Search and rescue set up at the northeast tip of Canning Lake. They searched for the missing man yesterday evening, but called off that search overnight once it got too dark. I'm told that the water was cold, around 2 or 3 degrees at the time. Crews resumed this morning around 7 o'clock and ultimately recovered the man's body this afternoon shortly after 12.
Search efforts went on into this morning, and a short time after noon today, we did locate the missing person. The 32-year-old man from Wabush was deceased.
A bit about Canning Lake. It's located just behind the trailer court here in Labrador City, and it's often where snow from that area gets dumped in the winter. I'm told it's by no means a popular spot for boaters. The lake is accessible by dirt road. I even had a rough time coming here myself, but there is a rough makeshift slipway to access the lake. This was a group effort. Volunteers with the local Salvation Army, Iron Ore Company of Canada, and Labrador City Fire Department all assisted. As for the deceased man, the RNC said his cause of death will be determined by the Office of the Chief Medical Officer. At Canning Lake in Labrador City, I'm Daryl Din for Here and Now.
A man was critically injured in an accident in Carboneer earlier this week. Police say he was not wearing a seatbelt and was thrown from his SUV Tuesday night when it went off the road and landed in a ditch. The Bay Roberts RCMP say the man has life-threatening injuries. He was the only person in the vehicle. The cause of the crash is under investigation. The sexual assault trial for Stephen Hopkins in St. John's is now stretching into its 2nd month, and it isn't over yet. Hopkins is representing himself in court, and as Here Now's Malone Mullins reports, there isn't much the system can do to prevent delays and disruptions.
How's it look?
Stephen Hopkins is defending himself in this trial, no lawyer at his side. It's a rare occurrence in this courtroom for such a serious charge, and because Hopkins doesn't have counsel, the case has taken a few odd twists and turns. The complainant is a 17-year-old girl. She testified Hopkins broke into her Cowan Heights home in 2020 after she offered the 31-year-old a glass of water. He took it, threw her over his shoulder, and carried her upstairs, where he allegedly sexually assaulted her. The two didn't know each other. The prosecutor has called police, doctors, and DNA experts to the stand, and Hopkins has cross-examined all of them, sometimes spending hours on a single witness, prompting the justice to stop him regularly, even threatening to end cross-examination if Hopkins didn't focus his questions. Hopkins has been prone to long-winded monologues, elaborate speech, and even fighting with others in the courtroom, at one point accusing Justice Donald Burridge of lying and trying to fire the lawyer appointed to help him understand the court process. But amid all of this chaos, Hopkins still has the right to represent himself.
We don't see a lot of people choosing to represent themselves. Although there is a group who say, I want to take control of my own case. I want to present the case in the way that I think is most important, and I think I can do that. And that's fine, that's their choice.
The interruptions, upheaval, and insults have been largely tolerated by the judge, who has patiently explained the court process to Hopkins and given him extra time to make decisions about his strategy. Leach says that's one way courts can handle self-represented defendants, but Leach also says no matter how fair the procedure, a lack of knowledge often doesn't work in the defendant's favor.
We have an adversarial system that is designed by lawyers for lawyers to participate in. So one party has gone to law school, gained experience, most likely in trial settings and hearing settings, has a knowledge of the substantive procedural law and is prepared to proceed. And the other party, the unrepresented or self-represented party, is often running to catch up.
Hopkins seems to be arguing that police have a vendetta against him, and he's trying to show that they're conspiring for his conviction. His trial resumes on Monday. Malone Mullen, CBC News, St. John's.
Truck drivers are going to have to double up in cabins when they come and go from Newfoundland. Marine Atlantic announced the change earlier this week, but as Henrika Wilhelm reports, not everyone is happy about it.
Marine Atlantic is returning to its pre-pandemic bunk buddies policy. That means most truckers looking to get some rest on the ferry will have to share their berths.
When COVID-19 came in, obviously we were in consultation with public health. They recommended that we make some changes, which we did. We moved to a single berth for commercial customers. And of course, now we've moved to a different stage of the pandemic, so we've returned to the double berthing.
But not everybody affected by this policy change is happy about having temporary roommates.
Years ago, we knew pretty much everybody on the boats. You don't know nobody no more on these boats. You don't have a clue who these guys are and what's going on. You know a couple. And you want me now to sleep in a room with this person?
That concern, in turn, is affecting transport companies.
I got, 4 or 5, maybe 6 guys that are actually going to quit if they have to share berths. I had one guy last night that crossed, same thing. He had to sleep in a chair. When he got off the ferry today, he went to sleep for 4 or 5 more hours because he wasn't fresh enough and didn't feel safe enough to drive across the island. That can't work in this industry.
Marine Atlantic set aside 35 of the vessel's 96 cabins for truck drivers that can be booked for single use for an upgrade fee. The system is first come, first served.
What we've said to them is that if you wish to wait for the next crossing where you're guaranteed an upgrade, then we won't charge you any additional fee for waiting.
I mean, could you imagine if we had, just say for example, the whole industry had 100 trucks a week that opted to wait for the next ferry? Just think about the cost. We're going to pass it on to whoever we're delivering to. In turn, it's going to get passed on to the consumer. It's actually laughable that they think this is a solution.
Marine Atlantic says it's going to be a busy season with about 28,000 bookings for this summer. Later in the season, Marine Atlantic will re-evaluate whether offering 35 single-use cabins to truckers is adequate. Henrika Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, from trucks to cars, there's yet another sign this weekend that life is returning to pre-pandemic routines. A long-running car show that's been entertaining auto buffs since the late 1980s is back. Here now's Terry Roberts revs up this report.
Classic car owners like these guys love showing off their antique rides. But scenes like this at the Bay Arena in Bay Roberts have disappeared in recent years. The popular Bay Wheels car show was forced to take a pandemic pit stop. They had a good run of 32 consecutive years, raising more than $150,000 for various charities, until COVID sent them into a ditch in 2020.
But we missed 2 years like a lot of people through COVID. We've lost it. It went. But now we're back, excited, ready to go, a full house.
A chance once again to drool over some classic rides like this one, built more than a century ago. Models that defined a generation after Newfoundland entered Confederation. Muscle cars built for speed and high-octane fun. And earlier-era work trucks built for utility and practicality, but now reclaimed as motorized mementos of days before anyone ever considered fuel efficiency or envisioned vehicles powered by zero-emitting rechargeable batteries.
We don't get miles per gallon. We get gallons per mile.
Organizers say it's the best indoor auto show in the province, and it's often viewed around here as the unofficial start to summer.
I love to come to car shows. I did all my lifetime. Meets a lot of people, meets a lot of friends and everything and that, and it's a good enjoyment weekend.
Will Dan Maloney ever part with his truck?
No, she'll always stay in the family. She'll never go out of my garage.
As you can see, this particular truck, we built it in the winter of 21 as a COVID project.
One of the centerpieces of this year's show is this pickup, recreated and enhanced by the Ackerman boys, the product of many hours of turning wrenches. Just don't ask how much they spent.
You don't tell that, especially to your wife, right? You just build it.
For the organizers of Bay Wheels, reviving this rubber-turning, engine-burning tradition is long overdue.
In 1988, our wives told us we were crazy, but we proved them wrong.
Oh, yes.
More than 2,000 people are expected here on Saturday and Sunday. 51 vehicles on display with a long waiting list. It's proof that the automobile is and will long be a cultural icon, drawing people of all ages and backgrounds, attracted by the power, the engineering, the nostalgia, and the need for speed.
It's a chance to get up close and personal with some vintage vehicles, including this 1971 fully rebuilt Chevy pickup truck, built, by the way, a year after this well-traveled newsman was even born.
Hey, Terry! Hey!
No. Okay, all right. But don't get too close. These guys are all about supporting charities, but don't touch the merchandise. Reporting from Bay Roberts, I'm Terry Roberts for Here and Now.
More than 300 refugees from Ukraine are settling into their new lives in Canada. They arrived on a charter flight last night, some headed for this province. They received a very special welcome in Halifax. The CBC's Colleen Jones was there.
Welcome to Canada, Natalia and Zlata.
The charter plane was late, and that added to the anticipation. Host families armed with teddy bears, signs of love and signs of welcome, waited.
Beyond thrilled.
Emotional?
Emotional roller coaster.
Very excited. So happy to see them.
When the first of the passengers finally entered, applause. Exhausted from a long flight and after leaving everything they knew behind, still, they were all so gracious.
It's not very easy way, but now I'm here and I think that everything will be better.
How do you feel?
I guess it is bittersweet, but mostly sweet than bitter, yeah.
Alexandra Jmuk will live with her host family in Halifax and plans to stay here. Others are leaving with their host families for other places.
She's going to continue her journey to Quebec.
But in all, 200 people are staying here in Nova Scotia, and there are still more Nova Scotian Ukrainians working hard to get their families here. It's 100 days since the war began, and it has not been easy to leave everything they've ever known for here.
We're so happy that they got a spot on the plane. It was kind of last minute, so now it's amazing that they're actually here.
Host families like Janet Wetmore want to help bring some calm to her family, a mom and 2 young boys.
I just feel like we're so fortunate living in Canada and living in Nova Scotia. It's such a great province. I just felt like I wanted to do something.
We're very excited to be here, and we're very happy that our host family with us.
Let's go home.
Yeah.
As the McLeans take Christiana and Dima to their new home, their old home is probably still very much top of mind. But they all know the kindness of these strangers in Nova Scotia opening their homes will finally bring some peace. Colleen Jones, CBC News, Halifax.
As we told you last night on the show, the plane departed from Halifax and backtracked to St. John's, where 29 Ukrainians were dropped off. The province has put out a request to help with housing these newcomers. Homeowners are being asked to offer up any affordable homestays, housing, apartments, and rental units to the growing number of Ukrainians looking to relocate to Newfoundland and Labrador. Anyone interested is asked to reach out to the Association for New Canadians at the phone number or email address on the screen there. Well, shifting now to sports, the Newfoundland Growlers basketball team plays its first pro game of the season tonight. The Canadian Elite League team is based out of the Fieldhouse at Memorial University. Our cameras caught up with the team during today's practice.
For all of us at Deacon Sports, extremely excited about it. You know, obviously we've been at this for about a year or so, going back to last May or June when we first talked to the CBL, and then you know, having to come in here to the Fieldhouse, which provides us challenges for us, but you know, a big crowd tonight for our home opener. Patrick Ewan Jr., our coach, has been here for 2 weeks working our players hard, and we're excited about it. We you know, one of the things Patrick asked me when he first came in and said we were a new franchise, you know, what's your expectation? And I said, man, we want to win. You know, we want to win and we want to compete. And I'm sure Patrick will have our players competing tonight.
Ever since I heard there were 3 new franchises coming into this league, I've been excited to see how they play, how they go, and I just so happen to be the head of one of them now. So I'm definitely excited for us, and you know, we've been waiting for a little while. You know, we've been waiting since the 25th or 26th since we started, but since the 25th since the first games for the league started this year. So we're watching every game and antsy, getting ready for our turn, and now it's finally here.
I couldn't be happier. You know, it's at home. It's what I've always dreamt of, to play professional basketball, and to do it at home just makes it that much more special. Yeah, I was actually surprised. You know, everyone's meshing really well, and a lot of people actually know each other through, I mean, Canadian basketball itself. So a lot of veterans here, and the guys, the internationals, imports, they all know each other too. So it's actually meshing really well.
No matter what sport you're in, you think you have the horses to compete. From what I see, we do. Patrick has done a good job of bringing in some veteran players that have been around the NDL league in the past. So we have some players who our fans will be familiar with tonight, and as well bringing some new veteran presence to us. So I like what I see, but we always say that at the beginning of the year. So let's see how we do tonight.
I feel good. You know, I think we had a great week of camp, and I'm tired of watching them battle each other. I'm looking forward to them battling somebody else. So we're all excited for tonight.
So this is our power tower. This is a project that's through the Fluvarium, and it's kind of used to teach kids about climate action. So the idea behind it is we see renewable energy coming in from the solar panel here and from our turbine here. We've got another turbine here, a vertical one that's not hooked up right now. But so the energy comes in, and then we've got some batteries hooked up to it, and then we use those batteries to use a 3D printer and print a model right in front of them. So it's to teach kids about renewable energy in action. I think the main takeaway is how easy it is to make changes and do little things like putting a turbine in your backyard, or putting a solar panel on your roof, or growing your own food, and make these little changes in your life to help take climate action, to help battle climate change.
We are live from George Street. It's Friday night. There's so many people walking around, like Liam, who I just met. Liam, where are you from?
I'm just from the earth, just like you, Mom, and just like this guy. You know, we are all brothers and sisters. I mean,
How are you enjoying St. John so far?
St. John's, Newfoundland. Well, I guess it's the only city I like, because I hate cities usually. I would just go through villages and towns, and this is the only city I like.
And that's what we like to hear. We're going to have a look at your weather coming up.
Feeling we all know as Newfoundlanders, there's a feeling to the weather, there's a texture to this place physically that I really wanted to capture.
Mark O'Brien is known for his acting, but his new film, The Righteous, is one he wrote, directed, and starred in. It's premiering tonight. We'll chat with him about it coming up.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Absolute final deadline is midnight tonight. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Chrissy Holmes, you're filling in for Ashley tonight. Normally I'd be really jealous because you managed to find a way to spend your Friday night working on George Street. However, based on those gloves, it's not exactly the most desirable assignment right now, is it?
Peter, you know, you got to work in the bright spots somewhere. And I tell you what, nobody here is getting down with the RDF. Yeah, it's kind of gray and dull normally, but there's that many people in town, Peter. I really want to get everyone on the inside of this because intermittently, like, I'm just standing around. I'm meeting people from all over the world. Randy, where are you from? You're from here, aren't you?
All my life.
All my life. Okay, so you got Randy, you got Liam, who you just met here. So Liam, like, I didn't even get to ask you, like, what brought you, like, you're hiking around Canada?
Yes, I am. Like New Brunswick, PI, Nova Scotia, blah, blah, blah. And here I am. And I think I'm going to just stay here for as long as I can. Why go elsewhere? I mean, you know, just good here. And
you know what? I think Donnie Cody here from George Street Association liking the sound of that, right?
I'm not sad. I'm not sad about anybody coming down here, hanging out, staying for the rest of their lives. I mean, look at us. We're still here.
We're having a time. And you know, it actually is the first time in a long time. I don't know what it is. Like this week in particular felt like there was that change, like people were getting out, starting to talk to each other again, you know?
I think that people have been climbing out, and I think George Street's been lucky enough because people know that this is the place to come down to have a good time of all kinds. So we've been bustling for a while, and it's only getting bigger and better.
And you know what? Look at us here making friends on George Street like old times. And yes, the RDF is getting us down a bit, or maybe, depending on where you're at, a lot. From here, it's kind of gray, bit drizzly. We're dressed for it, not a big deal. But from above, it's big, and this system's pretty persistent.
Put the weather's back.
Well, take a look at that beauty. That system has been spinning and sucking up an RDF storm for quite some time. And by Sunday, it looks like it's just going to nudge a little bit further to the northeast. And that hopefully will nudge us into a new weather pattern. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But first things first, tonight. What you see is what you get. Cloudy, chance of drizzle and patchy fog developing tonight for eastern Newfoundland. A heads up, by the way, in St. John's and other coastal areas, it is going to be breezy too. Wind's going to be picking up from the northwest, 30 gusting to 50, possibly up to 70 kilometers per hour along parts of the coast tonight. A low of 3 for the Avalon and Burin Peninsulas, a low of 4 for the northeast coast and for central. Now, a different story for the west coast, which gets the award for the best coast tonight. Clear tonight in Port aux Basques with light winds, a low of 4, but by the way, some low-lying areas could see temperatures dip down to freezing. Cloudy tonight in Corner Brook with a low of 4, and in St. Anthony, periods of drizzle, a chance of showers, and a low of 3. And Happy Valley Goose Bay tonight, a chance of drizzle or freezing drizzle overnight with a low of -1. RDF and Cartwright with a chance of some overnight snow, actually, in higher terrain, a low of 1. A clear night in Labrador City and up north in Nain with lows of -1 and 0, respectively. Looking into Saturday, a chance of showers in Nain, a high of 6, mainly sunny and 15 in beautiful Lab West. And then further east that you go, in Labrador, it's all about the RDF. A high of 9 in Happy Valley Goose Bay, a high of 4 in Cartwright. And you see the trend unfolding here. Northern Peninsula, Central, Northeast Coast, the Avalon and Burin Peninsulas, cloudy, chance of showers, still inside that northwest flow with gusts topping out near 40 kilometers per hour. But in those onshore winds, temperatures are going to feel cooler than advertised there. Yeah, we've got our fingers crossed that we might see some of that sunshine actually break out into the day tomorrow, but best plan for more of the same. Yeah, sometimes when it comes to the weather, Donnie Cody, George Street Association, right, is about managing expectations, you know what I mean?
Well,
and
about managing the wardrobe as well. I mean, you're always the fashion plate, and I'm just trying to keep up.
Well, I'm trying to keep up here in this minute, but listen, I can't believe how many people were after meeting here today.
It's
from
wild.
all over, like just a couple of minutes standing here. Like, this is going to be a year in George Street.
Listen, a steady winks and nods, everyone passing by. Even on a Friday when the weather isn't so amazing, the street is still bustling, people coming and going, even at this early hour, which makes everybody on the street feel great.
Right? And this is just the start, because I mean, we're not even into double digits yet, and bodies are out. Like, what are you looking forward to this year? What's on deck for George Street?
I think that all the members are super excited. The street has been full, people coming and going flat out. Everyone's getting ready for the summer of George. We had it last summer, and even more events that we're going to have this summer. Of course, George Street Festival's 37th annual festival coming through. Big acts, big fun. But we also have a Pride event coming up, a lip sync battle on the main stage, if you can handle it. We're going to have Paddy's Day event in August. We're going to have a NASCAR event. We're going to have a summer music concert series with Music NL with artists every Wednesday evening. Lots of family-friendly fun happening. And of course, we got the nightlife that goes on all day and all night, so we're pumped.
That is amazing. I tell you what, I hope this couple comes back here now in a minute. I just met this couple from Abbotsford. They said, George Street, what's that? And I went, what?
You're on it, bud.
That's what I said to him. And I said, you're on, you must be on it. So he goes,
you're right here.
So anyway, they're going to find out tonight. But if there's anybody watching down there that hasn't had this experience, like, what would you have said to that couple?
Listen, they're going to know where they're at now after a couple of more bars and a couple of more bops. That's what's going on, because there's live music happening all up and down the street. People coming from miles around. Come home year is huge, and the government is putting on the dog, and everyone is flying in, coming in. And we've seen so many people who have been coming in from away and are having a wicked old time, and we're thankful.
And it's about dressing for it, isn't it? Like, I mean, you know, you got to dress for it. You got to come with the rain gear and, you know, good attitude, I suppose.
Well, only the good attitude, because just wait 5 minutes and the weather will change anyway. You know the deal.
Oh, I do. And it's all about having a good time. And you know what? Our friend Randy here, who's standing by, God love him. Randy, what's the word? What's the last word on this here today from George Street?
I just want everybody to stay safe and be careful.
Solid advice. That's what it's all about, isn't it, Donnie?
It's sage advice.
All right. Donnie Cody, George Street Association. Randy, you're deadly, bud.
Good man.
Still some fist bumps, making friends down here. It feels like old times. All right, live from George Street. We'll be back with more on what's coming up in the weather. Hopefully it gets a bit better. Tell me it's getting better, Randy.
I hope we will get better, man.
Well, it is the big premiere. Mark O'Brien's latest movie is coming out, and it's not just starring him. He's had a lot of roles in this, including producing it, writing it, directing it, and he's here now to tell us a bit about it. Well, congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
So you shot this in Newfoundland and Labrador. Why was that important? Because you've been doing projects all over the place lately.
Well, I just wanted to come back here and work anytime I can. And there's something like, I wanted to make a feature film for such a long time, like anyone who knows me knows that. And I wanted to do it in a way that I knew I would feel supported and I would be excited, and I wanted to do that at home with a crew, a lot of people from Doyle and stuff like that, that I knew, and I knew it was going to be a great experience, because I think the experience makes a better product. And then outside of that, in the film, like, the movie's not set any time, any place, but there's a feeling we all know as Newfoundlanders. There's a feeling to the weather, there's a texture to this place physically that I really wanted to capture.
So why did you not want to set it in Newfoundland and Labrador?
Because it's like a mystery. It's sort of a psychological horror thriller. And I think if you say where something is set, I think it gives the audience a bit too much knowledge. So then you can start kind of maybe sort of precipitating things that might happen and stuff like that. But if I don't say where it is and you just give a feeling of a place, I think it leaves more open to interpretation, and you're not really sure what's around that corner.
It has a life of its own. What's important is knowing the difference between what's real and what our conscience has created to punish us.
I gotta ask you, because as you can see from the poster here, it's in black and white. You do know that we have color these days. You can do films in all sorts, you know.
I know. Perhaps I'll try it someday. I think it was, look, it was just like when I started writing it, it just came out as black and white in my head. And, you know, that's not an easy thing to sell to a lot of people. But for me, it was like, that's just what it has to be. That's what this story is. You know, certain characters have certain accents for no reason and stuff like that. It's just something that just comes out of you that just felt true. I think it also goes back to what I was talking about, like the mysterious nature of the film. Things are in black and white, you can't understand it quite as well. It's a bit indecipherable. And it also ended up being beautiful, shot by Scott McClellan, a Newfoundlander. He was the cinematographer. He's incredible. So it just really came across the vision of what I wanted it to be, which in certain terms is kind of hard to put into words, but it was the feeling I had.
You wore a lot of different hats with this film. How did you juggle, you know, directing yourself while also interpreting your own writing and kind of, you know, making it all work?
Interpreting my own writing was probably the hardest part. Who wrote this? Why'd they do this? No, I think it actually was kind of great, because I love movies so much, and getting to do all of it but through different channels was actually quite a treat, because like I wrote it. So it's different for me to perform it. I really understand it. I mean, I created that character. And if I didn't write it, I don't know if I would be able to do that quite so much. And like I said before too, working with the crew, and I'm acting in the scenes and I'm directing, but I look across and I see all these friends that I've worked with before. It made me feel really like insulated in a really great way. So it ended up being pretty fluid, actually. It's hard to put it under certain categories or label it as anything. It's just the creation of something. And if it means me acting, there's directing within acting. All actors have to do that because we audition for things. So you're directing yourself all the time. And there's acting within directing. So the things all kind of come together in a funny way. And same with writing. So the connection of all of them just makes me want to create more things. And if for each particular project it means I should direct or I should produce or I should act, then so be it if it feels right at the time. I really have learned over these years of in this crazy business that you have to treat each project separately. Instead, I don't think about it as a career anymore. I really just think about it as this particular project and why I want to do it and what it means, and is it worth leaving my family for? Because I already left my family from moving from Newfoundland, so to leave my wife and daughter to go work as well, it has to be really worth it. So I really, really put them as singular events.
Well, congratulations on the movie, and I guess anyone who remembers you from Republic of Doyle as Des, this is going to be a completely different departure for them if they come and see it.
Very, very different, yeah. We should have played some Doyle over the credits just to have everyone relax a little bit and laugh a bit. Yeah, it's not that kind of a thing, but I wanted to go for something different, and even though it is sort of a psychological horror, for anyone who wants to come see it, I don't like gratuity. I don't like kind of blood and guts and stuff. That stuff's not for me. It's more the idea of something. And I like being thrilled when I watch a movie and being like, whoa, what is going to happen? And that's really what I was going for.
Well, congratulations and good luck tonight.
Thanks, Peter.
Welcome back to Here and Now. We are live from George Street tonight. I'm Chrissy Holmes, in for Ashley Braweiler. So RDF is kind of the thing. It's not really dampening moods down here on George Street, but you know what? If George Street's not your thing, maybe you can take a hike, right? Randy thinks might like the idea of that. Randy Murphy, he's the president of the East Coast Trail Association. Randy, tomorrow's going to be a pretty big day by the sounds of it.
Yes, it's our annual fundraiser on July 4th. It's a celebration of International Trails Day, Tourism Week on the East Coast Trail. We're celebrating basically the completion of another 52 kilometers of trail, and the actual marks the end of our 336 kilometers of trail between Cappahayden and Topsail Beach. So we're excited, and we're looking at everybody to come out, hike with us, and party with us tomorrow.
Oh, I like the sound of that. 336 kilometers. That is huge, huge, huge. And I know you get this question a lot with all the tourists in town. I'm sure, once they find out where you're from, they're going to say, oh, I've heard of it. What do you recommend? Where do I start?
Start based on sort of where you are. Pick the trail that's most suitable to your level of experience and conditioning, and basically just head down to the trail. Any of our trails, basically in St. John's, are anywhere from 10 or 15 minutes away. Start at Sugarloaf, basically on the north side of the harbour, or you can go over to Devon's Bay or the Cape Spear, or down to Logie Bay, anywhere between Topsail Beach and Capahayden, you'll find the trail that will be suitable to your basic level of expertise, the amount of time you have, and you'll enjoy it regardless of where you end up.
The East Coast Trail course is a jewel in this province, and keeping it up is no small task, so this is really important, this fundraiser tomorrow. Tell us a little bit about how this is going to work and how people can participate.
Well, the registration's open. You go to our webpage at eastcoasttrail.com. You can log on there, register for tomorrow. The cost is $50 to entry. Come out to basically to the Brookside Intermediate School tomorrow on Thorburn Road. Come in, check in. We'll get you on a bus, bring you to the trailhead, let you hike, then we'll pick you up, bring you back to the Brookside School to have lunch, live music, and party, and a good time will be had by all.
Way to sell, Randy. Way to sell that one. So, what's the goal? Do you know how many people you're expecting just yet?
We're right now is approximately 325 adults registered, and along with 45 children, and we're expecting probably upwards to 350 to 400 tomorrow.
And what's the fundraising goal?
The fundraising goal is $100,000. I think as of this moment we're at about 85,000. So we're getting close. So another push over the evening and tomorrow, hopefully we'll come close to $100,000. But
yeah, well, yes, and I was going to say, hopefully the sun comes close to coming out here. I almost feel like it's starting to come out.
It is. The weather's looking good for tomorrow. It's forecast to be 11 degrees, a mix of sun and cloud in the morning. The showers are hopefully staying away until late in the afternoon.
I love this. Randy's filling in for Ashley too. God love you. That is perfect because you know what? Fingers crossed. I do hope that sun comes out a little bit, but either way, you're used to it, aren't you? Everybody's going to be dressed for the weather tomorrow.
People will come basically prepared for the weather. Bring layers of clothing, warm jacket if the weather changes, or rain gear basically just in case we get a shower or two. But and good solid boots, good ankle support, and you'll have a great time with us tomorrow.
Randy, way to sell that. It is going to be a great time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chrissy.
As Randy Murphy, the president of the East Coast Trail Association, their big trail raiser coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow's also International Trails
Day, exactly, and it's the last day of Tourism Week. So it's a great cause and great celebration for many people.
Check, check, check. Love it. Well, that's going to be great. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thanks.
And coming up in just a little bit, we're going to take a look at the long-range forecast and find out when this system is finally going to move off and that sun will come out.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you very much, Chrissy. Chrissy Holmes live on George Street with us tonight. Now looking at a little bit of the bigger picture as Canadians get ready to dive into summer activities, a nationwide shortage of lifeguards is bringing up the unexpected issue of safety around beaches and pools. And some short-handed cities are on the lookout for creative ways to fill the gap. Kayla Hounsel explains.
Many Canadians have an expectation. When they show up at the beach, there will be someone sitting on a tower keeping an eye on the water. This summer, that may not always be the case.
You always feel kind of safer knowing that there's someone there, so I feel like it can make you feel a little uneasy if there's not.
There will be some beaches, I suspect, that will not have supervision that normally have. We're trying to avoid that.
Paul Dion runs the Nova Scotia Lifeguard Service. He's actively recruiting from swim teams.
The cohort that would have been trained the last 2 years, those 15, 16-year-olds have not been trained. We're trying to play catch up now.
It's a rush, it's urgent.
The National Society says there's a shortage of lifeguards across the country. It's also because pools shut down due to the pandemic and staff were let go.
They're in other sectors and they're settled there and they're not coming back.
In Quebec, they're asking retired lifeguards to return.
If we want kids to enjoy swimming and to learn how to swim, it's up to us to get involved and to make sure that they get trained and properly supervised.
In West Vancouver, they're waiving the $1,000 training fee.
We are desperate to hire more lifeguards.
Everyone agrees closing pools would be unfortunate, but it's difficult to stop people from going to the beach. And that's a real safety issue.
And those 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds that go wandering into the water and they're playing there quietly while mom and dad are watching them, and mom looks down for 30 seconds to check her phone, and all of a sudden that wave has come, and where did that 3-year-old go?
As they scramble to fill the gaps for this summer, lifeguard services are also warning they've lost 2 years of training new recruits, which could mean a shortage for the next couple of years. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Queensland, Nova Scotia.
While staying with summer, Ottawa continues to require people traveling into Canada to use the ArriveCan app, but there are growing calls to abandon it. The CBC's Sophia Harris reports.
This is his responsibility.
Evelyn Herskovitz and Ron Damon are stuck in quarantine. They're fully vaccinated and don't have COVID-19, but when they drove back to Canada in late May, following a day trip to the U.S., they said they were ordered to quarantine for 2 weeks because they didn't fill out the ArriveCan app.
We weren't aware that we needed this for land border crossings.
And they're not happy about the consequences.
Very upset.
Angry.
Angry, yes.
I mean, people don't even have to quarantine for 14 days now when they have COVID. So, I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Use ArriveCan.
Filling out the ArriveCan app is one of the last remaining travel restrictions for vaccinated travelers, and they could even face a $5,000 fine if they don't complete it. But for some, that's so difficult, a new service has sprung up. This parcel pickup store in Calais, Maine, near the New Brunswick border, helps people fill out the app for $5 to cover costs.
Customs called us and asked if we would be willing to provide this as a service for Canadian citizens because they were having to turn around a lot of elderly people that were coming across because they don't have the technology and stuff to do the Arrive Canada app.
It's a user-friendly digital tool.
That's one of the reasons some politicians say it's time to axe the app.
Let's get rid of it.
The mayor of Niagara Falls says the app is deterring many Americans from visiting.
American travelers are a lot like water. They take the path of least resistance, and they'd rather just bypass Canada because it's too complicated.
Ottawa says the app stays in place for now as a precautionary measure, and border officers provide assistance when they can. That will now include letting vaccinated Canadian land travelers off with a warning the first time they neglect to fill out the app. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
It's time to take a look at who's celebrating this week. Happy 50th anniversary to Cynthia and Mel Gregory. It is a 54th anniversary for Lal and Joan Furlong. They live in St. John's. Happy 55th anniversary to George and Blanche Rose from Corner Brook. Cheers. Bob and Phyllis Green of Fogo are celebrating their 50th anniversary. It is a 63rd anniversary for John and Winifred Kennedy from St. John's. Happy 61st anniversary to Douglas and Olive Toop from Corner Brook. It's a 50th anniversary for Dave and Bev Lester. They live in St. John's. Wonder if he still has that haircut. Baxter and Ivy Goss from Port aux Basques are celebrating their 54th wedding anniversary. Congratulations. It is a 60th wedding anniversary for Patrick and Nora Cleary. They live in St. John's. Happy anniversary to Anthony and Linda Decker from Norris Point. It's a 58th anniversary for Cyril and Bella Hiscock from Sunnyside. Congratulations. Happy 62nd anniversary to Melvin and Christina Decker. Happy anniversary to George and Shirley Sr. from Creston South. It's their 57th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary to Minnie and Bill Cofield from St. John's on their 60th. It's also a 60th anniversary for Dawn and Joyce Parrott from Mount Moriah. Happy 50th anniversary for Louis and Linda Papale. Bob and Emily Bailey from Southlands are celebrating their 63rd wedding anniversary. Happy 66th anniversary to Clyde and Dorothy Best from Conception Bay South. Happy anniversary to Eric and Dorothy Butt from Shoal Harbor. They're celebrating their 57th. Happy 60th anniversary to Fred and Beth Hatcher. They live in Torres Cove. Happy 55th anniversary to Matt and Bertha Kelly from Port aux Choix. And it's a 50th anniversary for Harvey and Linda Morgan from Seal Cove. Happy birthdays now going out to Margaret Roth from Mortier. She's celebrating her 91st birthday. Congratulations. Happy birthday to Audrey Harris from New Chelsea. It is her 93rd birthday. Jim Cross is celebrating his 90th birthday and he still gets out on the links a couple days a week. Good for you. Happy 93rd birthday to Lydia Wells from Hare Bay. Happy birthday to Winnie Skiffington from Musgrave Town. She's celebrating her 92nd birthday. It's also a 92nd birthday for Kevin Tobin from Patrick's Cove. And quite the catch there he's got. Happy 90th birthday to Ruth Brown from South River. Happy 98th birthday, it's a big one, for Laura Burry from Paradise. Love the hat. Happy 90th birthday to Evelyn Parrott from Conception Bay South. Anne Penny of Lewisport is celebrating her 94th birthday. Congratulations. Okay, Chrissy, you've been promising us an answer to the question that we ask ourselves every spring in Newfoundland. When is the RDF going to end already?
When, right? I know. There is no certainty in Newfoundland and Labrador weather, but Peter, it does appear as we look a little bit further out, there is a little bit more clarity. Well, Sunday appears to be the beginning of the end. That low pressure system is expected to start to nudge away from our forecast area, but until then, expect more of the same. Although looking into Sunday, we're already starting to see some improvement. Drier in St. John's, mainly cloudy with a double-digit high of 14 degrees. As soon as you get off the Avalon and look further west, we're starting to see a little bit more sunshine come out. That's more like it. A high of 15 degrees in Marystown, a high of 13 degrees in Port aux Basques. Sun and cloud for the west, aka Best Coast, a high of 12 degrees for your Sunday in Corner Brook. Now for the Northern Peninsula and Central, yeah, that moisture persists. Cloudy with a chance of showers, a high of 10 degrees in St. Anthony, 13 degrees for Grand Falls, Windsor, and a high of 9 in Gander. Cloudy with a chance of showers in Lab West and right along the mid-coast. For Happy Valley Goose Bay, though, the bright spot right in between, a mix of sun and cloud there for Sunday. Brighter again the further north, up in Nain. Highs right across the Big Land between 8 and 13 degrees. Must be nice, right? For everyone else, the question is, when will this stalled system move on? Well, as we move into Monday, that low is really going to start to depart, and if all goes well, by Tuesday, it will be far enough to the east that most of the province can expect to see some of that good old sunshine break back into the mix.
I mean, if all goes well, right? I mean, but again, there is no certainty in the Newfoundland and Labrador weather. I do have to say, though, it has been so refreshing to come down here. People are out. Nobody seems to mind the RDF. Like in years past, just remember everybody being, well, you know. But no, everybody's just happy to be out. And this, after 2 years with the pandemic, Peter, and just all the things, people are just really embracing life right now. I don't think any of this matters anymore. You know, it really put everything into context. People are just out to enjoy life.
Yeah, as long as you've got a nice warm sweater and maybe a bit of a raincoat, then, you know, there's still an opportunity to get outside and enjoy all that Newfoundland and Labrador has to offer.
You know, not just here on George Street, but right across the province, whether it's, you know, on the East Coast Trail, like you say. But, you know, I wish I had time to tell you about all the things that are happening here, but even artistically, there's so much happening. So it's a great weekend to get out and enjoy it. Of course, if you got the gear, right? You know, and as I've been telling the tourists here, this is like so you don't get lost in the fog. Something nice and bright now.
Oh,
you know?
Chrissy, there is no trouble finding you in a crowd or the fog. No, don't have to worry about that.
No, it's not an accident, Peter. You know, you don't want to get lost around here, you know?
Well, and that's it for us for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend, whether you're inside or outside.